So moving on to igniting successes, this is the second phase of Spark. What have been some of the biggest challenges working in and around the type of consulting you do?
People. People.
Yeah?
It's all about people, but when you're dealing with people, you're dealing with a lot of different personalities, a lot of different motivations, a lot of different spoken goals and unspoken goals. And again, I think anytime you put more than one person in the room, you have additional probabilities of conflict, of misunderstanding, of miscommunication.
Wow.
And so it really has been, how do you lead? How do you promote vision? How do you promote something that may seem initially uncomfortable or maybe even silly? A lot of times, talking to a business guy about his values, oftentimes it's very hard for them to make that initial leap to where they go, yeah, that affects my bottom line.
Yeah.
And I've really tried to take a very firm stance to say, no, it absolutely impacts your bottom line. Let me show you how.
Interesting. So the next question I was going to ask you is, how have you overcome those challenges? And you're touching on that already just a little bit. Go a little bit further. How have you overcome the challenge of people and making some of those connections?
Realistically speaking, what part of my process is DISC training.
Yeah.
And really, the DISC personality system is all about identifying individual unique temperaments that everyone has. And we're all a blend of, those four.
Yeah.
But really, what that helps me find out is, what are the needs of that person? And when I can address those needs, it really gives me an open door to start communicating with them on a much deeper level that's more meaningful to them and more impactful to them.
What would you consider some of your successes so far? I know you're still actually, I'm sure you probably feel very young and new to what you're doing, just knowing you. But what would you consider some of your successes so far that you'd be proud to kind of earmark?
Actually, just this week, I was stopped into the office of one of my clients. They're a mortgage company, and the two partners that I work very closely with were out of the office, and one of their key employees was actually asking me some questions, and she said, I'm having this situation where I'm having to deal with a coworker. What do you think I should do? What do you think is the best response? So it turned into kind of an informal 15-minute coaching session. And she said, I want you to know, she said, I think that you're the most important thing that's ever happened to our business.
Wow.
And I said, why is that? I mean, it was amazingly, humbling to hear that, but pretty cool. And she said, I've seen the two partners, they've tried harder since you've been here.
Oh, wow.
They've been held more accountable. I've seen them change, I've seen them adapt, I've seen them really mature in a lot of ways as business owners. And I think that response to me was just absolutely amazing to hear that, because she was feeling and realizing the impact that, I have had through the business owners and how it was affecting the culture of that business.
Wow.
That's one success that I'm just massively proud of.
What would you say is one of, or a few of, the biggest mistakes you've made early on that others could learn from if they were taking the same path?
It's a very big difference between reading books and going out into the real world.
Yeah.
I've read a lot of books, and don't get me wrong, reading books is amazing. Information is phenomenal.
Yeah.
But there's a big difference between taking head knowledge and head smarts and getting out into the ugly, gritty, oftentimes very complex, complicated world, and trying to implement those things that you read in a book that seem very easy and very, 1, 2, 3 bullet points.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's a little uglier out there. And so I think it's not necessarily a mistake, it's just been more of a point of growth for me.
Gotcha. What skills do you think have come to be the most important for any kind of philanthropia, human service-oriented person to have?
I think the ability to communicate hope is huge. I think the ability to, as human beings, unfortunately, it seems like the older we get, the more set in our ways that we get.
Yeah.
And so, being able to lead with not only hope for, it sounds a little bit cliched, but a better tomorrow, whatever that looks like. But really almost proving to someone, I can teach you a better way of doing things. I can meet your needs, and I can help you meet your needs if we can talk about this situation, if we can address that issue. And so really it's all about communication.
Yeah. What skills do you think you need to further develop to succeed further in the human service field? What skills are you trying to develop? Or are you looking to go, okay, I need to work on this?
I'm constantly trying to clarify my vision verbally.
Yeah.
So what does it mean to be the architect of WOW? What does it mean to provide WOW experiences? What's my mission? What's my vision? What's my goal?
Yeah.
That's one thing that I'm always trying to develop. Within that, I'm definitely seeing that there's a massive need to develop a team. And that could be in a business realm, but it could be just a small group of people that come together and are banded together, pulling together towards the same objective. Because I'm realizing I'm not strong in every area. I have weaknesses, and rather than me trying to spend time developing stronger weaknesses, I just need to go find the people that are really good at what I'm not.
Gotcha.
And that's humbling.
Yeah. A lot of my conversation with people is around missions and humanitarian work. And you obviously epitomize a way to serve people in a for-profit way. How long would you say to someone starting out, to the point where they can be serving others and making an income, how long do you think it would take for them to achieve that?
To make an income doing that?
Yeah. From start to, hey, here's my Architect of WOW moment where I realize this is my message, and from that moment to a realized check in the bank. What do you think that looks like?
I think everyone's different, but obviously with the technology that is available these days, it's very easy to communicate, to find, to reach people that we weren't able to communicate with even a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
So with the advent of all the social media and the different technologies that are available to us, if you're rendering value and there's a strong message, there's a strong, in a sense, all of business is solving problems. So if you're solving a legitimate problem that you can convince people of, it could be very quickly. Starting with friends, family, people you know, it could be very quick.
Gotcha. What are the top 3 key milestones you think you'd like to have achieved in your work over the next 3 to 5 years?
It's a good question. I think number 1 is obviously just serving more clients. I'm definitely developing more skill sets and more direction on where I want to go. So I think just increasing the number of clients.
Yeah.
Number 2 would be really refining more of my service process.
Oh, wow.
It's always a challenge to try and fit what you do with people, and so I think it's always kind of honing and tweaking what needs to be tweaked. So developing the service process, and I think number 3, just consistently making sure. I was talking to somebody yesterday, actually one of my clients, and he said, we were kind of talking about 2012 and doing some initial planning for 2012, and he was telling me how he wanted to grow and how he wanted to get to X number of sales, and I said, why do you want to do that?
Yeah.
He said, well, it equals this much income to me, and I said, right, but why? And I said, what you have actually been very successful in creating is an amazing company that has an amazing culture, and you have 5 employees. So I said, grow, absolutely grow, but don't sacrifice your culture for more money and for more revenue in the bank.
Yeah.
And so I think for me, it's definitely growing, but making sure that all of my values, all of my vision stays intact. Unlike maybe a few years ago, and I don't mean this to sound maybe as derogatory as it might come out, I'm not for sale. And I think a lot of people put themselves out for sale for a paycheck.
Yeah.
And it was much more, I'm not focused on developing my vision and my passion and really how I want to impact and change the world. It's, no, I'll just show up at your doorstep and ask for a paycheck. And you can buy me for, $30,000 a year.
Yeah.
And I'm just not willing to do that.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. I think people in the nonprofit world have a lot, and in the missions and humanitarian world have a lot to learn from that too. And as you mentioned, these worlds are actually fused in a lot of ways these days.